on it. Summit and Destiny have met 7 times before. Tonight is number 8.
And the Tennessee Volunteers are the SEC Tournament champions. It's been a long time coming. The last time Tennessee won this tournament was in 1979, but they've got another trophy to put in the trophy case at Thompson Bowling Arena.
The 2023 SEC champions, the Tennessee Volunteers.
Hit high in the air into left field. Stevenson circling in front of the fence into foul ground. He goes into the corner, makes the catch, and that's the ball game.
And the Volunteers will hold the trophy.
How much fun is this, man? God, I love it. High fly, deep right, and Tennessee walks it off.
The 2-2 to Denton.
Well hit deep left field. It is gone.
For the win for the Volunteers. From 40. On the way, a knuckleball. He got it.
How much fun is this?
Man, Rocky Top. This is college football at its absolute best.
Yes, sir. We say it every week. This is college athletics at its absolute best. And we can absolutely say that because in the last athletic sport of the season, your NCAA Division I baseball champs are clad in big orange. Michael, dude, how are we doing on this fine Sunday afternoon after 4th of July, brother?
Yeah, happy 4th of July to you. Glad to get the day off, but we also have to remember what the 4th of July means. You know, America gaining its independence. But, man, we're doing.
And I think our guy just completely cut out. Hold up. As he was saying, though, 4th of July, is he back?
I'm back now.
Dude, that was wild. You just completely cut out.
Yeah.
That's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but, man, we are.
4th of July, baby. Fireworks are still going on.
Yeah. But, man, we've already got guys tuned in as Justin Williams tunes in saying, hey, Justin, we appreciate you tuning in to the stream. Man, how was your 4th of July?
Dude, my 4th of July was great. Got to spend it with the family. Got to do a lot of different things. Got to go witness some fireworks on the lake, which was kind of cool. And then the family today, man, my cheeks are a little rosy. We went out to the water park, had a good time, and you know, just moments like that you never take for granted because you know in the blink of an eye it can be gone from you. As we got Misty tuning into the show today, that's my mom. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully the whole family's watching because we got some good stuff for you tonight. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you guys of our show sponsor, and that is Chris Smith Insurance. As a homeowner, Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he started his own agency where instead of feeling like a big company is fighting against you, you'll know that your agent is fighting for you. All insurance is not equal. Trust the Chris Smith Insurance Agency today. Give them a call at 865-272-3387. Guys, renewals, whatever. If you need a change in insurance, give this guy a chance to see if he can save you some money. And on top of that, give you a great experience, albeit a bad time if you ever have to file a claim, but you at least know that your guy is going to be there fighting for you the whole way through. So, Chris, we really appreciate your continued support of the channel, man. Michael, what do we got today, man? I think we got a loaded show today. Loaded show, and it's kind of like dead period right now, but we got 7 Saturdays to football season, man.
I hope I don't know what's going on.
We've
got a loaded slate tonight.
There you go.
We're trying to, give our previews for Tennessee position, trying to give our predictions for SEC teams this year. So tonight we're going to be looking at Tennessee defensive backs, and then we're going to look at Florida's schedule as well as Mississippi State's schedule for this upcoming season. Going to be giving our predictions on that. But before we hop into that, our segment 1 sponsor is Optimal Asbestos Services, your trusted environmental consulting firm in Knoxville, Tennessee. State licensed and insured, we specialize in asbestos air quality management for commercial buildings and homes. Contact Jeff Mull at 888-866-3297 or on the web at optimalasbestosservices.com. So without further ado, we are going to start off with Tennessee, looking at the Tennessee defensive back group for this season. And Skylar, this is probably the most intriguing position group to me on this season because of the turnover that Tennessee had, the new guys coming in, and just the unknown for this coming season.
I think it's unknown, which is kind of scary, but I also think it means just a lot of opportunity, right? In a weird way, as decimated as our defensive back room was with the transfer portal, we did have a few folks try to, get picked up by a couple teams in the NFL. But, man, I'll tell you what, there is plenty of guys in the room. I don't want anybody to have like that misconception of, oh, man, this is our weak point, which it may very well be, but I kind of have a little bit of optimism about this room. And I'll be honest with you, the reason why is I think this is a big year for Willie Martinez as a coach. He's not had the greatest couple of years with Josh Heupel, and I think he's got a lot to prove this year. And I could be wrong, but he's got a young group. He's got a very inexperienced group, but he does have a couple of leaders that we're going to talk about that I think can kind of help shape this room into what Willie Martinez wants. And we're going to talk all about it, man. Going to talk all about it. Talking defensive backs today in the first segment. Defensive backs. Who's the first one that comes to your mind when you think of defensive back?
The first one that comes to my mind is Andre Turrentine. He stepped up towards the end of the year with some injuries and things like that, and kind of made a little bit of a name for himself. As you see in the bottom right-hand corner, him and Jordan Thomas are the leading returning tacklers from last season's team, as there is only 48 tackles from Tennessee's roster last year that return. 48 when it comes to the DB position group alone. But Andre Turrentine is one of those guys that really he stepped up towards the end of the year, in my opinion. I think he's going to have a good year this year. What about you? I think I know where you're heading, but what's the name that stands out for you?
I don't like when you try to predict me. I don't like when you try to So Andre Turrentine's a good one because I think that's kind of like your backbone of the defensive back group. As far as a returning player, a guy that has a lot of playing time under his belt, and a guy that you expect to kind of be the quarterback of that room. But for me, I got to go Boo Carter. I think this kid is actually going to be seeing the field quite a bit as a freshman, a true freshman, albeit. I think this kid's got the stuff. I think he's going to be on the field. I could be completely wrong and missing the mark, but, we all know Boo Carter, the local product. He's 5'11", 185. But, man, I tell you what, he showed out in the orange and white game. I don't want to put too much stock in it. I get it. But in a decimated group, I don't see there being like a big pecking order. Like everybody kind of starts from the same level. And I think Boo Carter did the absolute best for his draft stock. Now, obviously, we'll know a lot more going into fall camp. But for me, Boo Carter was the highlight of the defensive back room all spring. And I kind of expect that to continue into the fall.
Yeah, and Boo Carter's a good name. Well, I'll be honest. I thought you were going to go more of a returner from last year.
Fair enough.
I thought that you were going to go with Christian Charles, who he also stepped up at the end of the year last year, especially in the bowl game. He really had a fantastic game. I think he's going to make a name for himself too. Another guy that, if we're going newcomers, that I'm looking forward to this year, it is another incoming freshman in Jordan Matthews.
Yeah.
So, Jordan Matthews, incoming freshman this year. He was a 4-star, teetering on the edge of being a 5-star. I'm really looking forward to what he can do this year. But, I've got over here, we got 3 guys come in from the portal, and I think that Tennessee did very well in the portal when it comes to defensive back. And I'll let you go ahead with the first one. We got Jacoby Thomas from MTSU.
Yeah, Jacoby Thomas. MTSU, big get, I think, for Josh Heupel's staff. Redshirt junior, 6'2", 192, got some good size to him. One of our bigger defensive backs in the room. A guy that was definitely a standout player for the Blue Raiders, and he gets to kind of stay in state. I think absolutely he's going to be in the 2 deep if he's not a starter. I mean, I think a lot of these guys have, good opportunity, and that's kind of like the word I want to stick with here in this room, because I feel like there's only 2 or 3 maybe set in stone starters in this defensive back group, and then you got kind of like your 2 and 3 deep. That's just a big shuffle, in my opinion. Jacoby Thomas is probably teetering, but I do think he came over to be a plug and play guy. And, who knows? This guy's he's a ball hawk. He finds the ball, had several interceptions last year for the Blue Raiders. And he also a tackling machine and somebody that we need to help, Willie Martinez feel more comfortable about these one-on-one situations that he wants to put our defensive backs in, to help our linebackers or whatever. So pretty excited about this get. Wasn't too surprised about it, honestly. I think Josh Heupel has this team now in a place to where if you have some local products in state, they're going to want to play for the T again. There for a while, this program wasn't really in that type of situation, right? And so you had to recruit a lot harder to get somebody to stay in state, where now I think it's a little bit different. I think kids want to come here. I think we're starting to see that. We landed a prediction from a linebacker that may flip his commitment from Georgia. Don't want to get too in depth in that because obviously that's just some predictions, but I think that's just something unique about what Coach Heupel is doing and what Coach Willie Martinez is able to kind of, like I said, younger guys, but I do think that could be a good thing for this Tennessee defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at his stats, did not have any interceptions last year, but his freshman year at MTSU, he had 4 interceptions.
My bad. I was looking career stats. That's on me. My fault.
No, you're good. You're good. But last year had a fantastic year for the Blue Raiders. 71 tackles, 3 TFLs. He had 5 pass breakups and also a fumble recovery on which he forced a fumble as well. So, coming out of Tullahoma High School, it was a very good get for MTSU to get Jacoby Thomas, and I think the Tennessee has got a good one in him for this next season. Guy that I'm going to look at now is Jermod McCoy. He's going to be a sophomore this year from Oregon State, and although his stats don't say as much, he had 31 total tackles last year. He had a half TFL, so 7 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. So, not just mind-blowing stats, but what he meant for that Oregon State defense last year was big for them. He's a 6-foot, 180-pound corner, and that's an area that Tennessee could use a lot of help in. I feel like over the last couple of years, Tennessee safeties have been pretty good overall. Obviously could be better, but when it comes to corners, we've seen way too many corners for Tennessee just get beat or just miss tackles right off the rip. And not saying that our safeties haven't, but you see it a lot more from the corners because they're on the line right there on the wide receiver, where the safeties, they get a little bit of a cushion first. But Jermod McCoy is another one that I think is going to be a big help for Willie Martinez's group there. Probably help out with the freshmen as well, getting them in the spot that they need to be out on the field. So Jermod McCoy, another great pickup out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, absolutely. And a pickup of need, right? I mean,
yeah,
especially with, like I said, we had, I think eight, I think in total defensive backs either leave either because they aged out, they transferred out, or they tried their best to get on a practice squad in the NFL. I think one was even drafted. Kamal Hadden, I believe, was he drafted? I can't remember if Kamal Hadden was drafted.
If he was drafted, it was like late 7th round. I think he might have been one of the first ones to sign.
I think he was assigned. Yeah, I think he was a free agent signee, whatever. Undrafted signee. No, okay. So I like that pick. I think I'm going to go with my next one here, and a guy that I'm surprised we haven't talked about because you've seen him get his first start in the bowl game last year, or I guess technically this year, and that's Ricky Gibson. He's going to be a sophomore now this year, wearing the number 18. He's a 6', 185. This guy kind of helped fill a spot of need, and he kind of played with a moxie, man. I mean, he was kind of everywhere and kind of loved his confidence, coming in as a true freshman last year, but definitely played a lot of football before getting his first official start in the bowl game Ricky Gibson, I think, is going to be kind of a guy that, once again, maybe one of those guys that has a starting position, but definitely has to battle for it with these incoming transfers. Either way, he's going to see a lot of time on the field, and we're going to need him because I do think this year in particular, Willie Martinez may ask for more out of his defensive backs in a younger group than he ever has. And you mentioned safeties kind of being pretty decent every now and again, getting caught off guard. But I think it's because our cornerbacks and whatnot have been so much of a liability lately that it's put a lot of pressure on our safeties to kind of make up for that. Yeah. And so when they have a boo-boo, if they have a missed assignment, it's a lot more highlighted per se because they're trying to make up for another, thing that's happening. So, no, Ricky Gibson, I think that kid, I think he could have a starting position first game of the season. I'm not even joking. That kid's pretty good.
Yeah, and it was actually Ricky Gibson I was thinking about earlier that I thought you were going to go with, not Christian Charles, although Christian Charles has been here for a little bit, all right? I think he's a junior now. Christian Charles, I think we all remember him getting cooked a couple years ago, and that kind of scarred a lot of people as far as him. But, credit to him for sticking it out and trying to be coached up. He's been trying his best, but he's not really found his way onto the field consistently. I think he's a great depth piece, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be a guy competing for a starting position. Now, I could be completely wrong. That's just my feel on Christian Charles. But I do have him on this list. I think he could absolutely be in the 2 deep, probably more of the 3 deep. But if anything, he definitely gives off some depth, obviously, but also some experience. He's been in some games. Don't get me wrong. Not played the greatest, but he's also had some flashes. But, that's just what you got in Christian Charles, in my opinion. Yeah, and I do want to hit the other transfer portal guy that I think is also going to be a plug-and-play guy. It could be a starter, could be second string. He's going to be somewhere around there. But Jalen McMurray, transferred from Temple, he's just solid, man. 2022, he had 49 tackles overall, 7 pass breakups, a fumble recovery. He also forced 2 fumbles and had a pick. This past season, down in the numbers a little bit, but still solid. 39 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, no interceptions, but another 6 foot, 180-pound corner that is going to be a good guy for Tennessee to have in the secondary. But another newcomer that I want to look at this year, all the talk was on Jordan Matthews coming in, but another guy that I believe has got an absolute shot of being a starter this season. And let me find him real quick. I just lost him. Oh, Caleb Beasley.
Yeah, I've got him down.
Yep. Freshman from Lipscomb Academy, 4-star. Teetering on the edge of that 5-star as well. 6 foot, 185-pound corner. Man, Beasley is. I've seen some of his film. He's good. I think he's going to be very good for Tennessee.
I don't doubt that one bit, and I really want to get to fall camp to kind of get a better idea of where these guys are going to fit in. I just have this feel about Beasley that this is going to be a redshirt year for him. I think not that there's too much competition because we just said that like pretty much everybody's starting at ground zero because of how decimated the room was. But, man, we just talked about dang near 10 defensive backs, and then Caleb Beasley is absolutely there. He's an incoming freshman, but I don't know, man. I'm going to have to wait till fall camp to kind of get a real good grasp on him because I didn't really get a great one in spring. I just lack of coverage. I mean, I'm only limited to, the things that I'm subscribed to as far as getting my information. But I am intrigued about Caleb Beasley. But then again, man, we did such a good job of getting in some of these freshman defensive backs and then going out and getting some transfer portal guys. There's only so much room for guys to play consistently, and that's where I think Caleb Beasley may be left out a little bit this year, but I don't think that's the worst thing in the world for him either.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I mean, he could very well redshirt this year. Like we said, this defensive back room is deep.
Oh, yeah.
Just not necessarily experienced. So,
it may be the deepest room we've had under Heupel. It's just we've not seen these guys on the field other than Andre Turrentine and Jordan Thomas and Ricky Gibson a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And like I said, I've got here listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys. And then again, we're probably going to be playing a 5-man defensive backfield for the most part, maybe sometimes 6, but for the most part, probably going to be a 5. Going to be running kind of like a 4-2-5, probably. That's kind of what we did a lot last year. Then again, some people say it's a 4-3, but you bring the guy down, whatever. I don't know. But no, we've got a loaded room. It's just kind of like a puzzle right now that we don't know where the pieces go. I mean, in my opinion, you've got a good feeling about 3 of these guys, right?
Yeah.
But then you have no idea where the next 8 go, and it's just kind of like, where do they go? And I think fall camp is going to be massive for this position room.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Right.
What's up? Hit me.
So looking at the guys that transferred out, and I'm just looking at the secondary guys, and I'm not including those that have signed with teams in the NFL. This is just guys that have signed with another team from the transfer portal. Warren Burrell, Brandon Turnage, Jack Luttrell, Deshaun Rucker, Danico Slaughter, Tamarian McDonald, Wesley Walker, and Christian Conyer. Would you rather have those guys or have the guys that we've got in this room right now?
All right. That's a hard question, but Danico Slaughter went over my heart on that hit against Kentucky on that quick slam. And so it hurt my soul to see him kind of struggle a little bit last year because I thought he was going to take off. I mean, he was my dark horse, MVP standout, whatever you want to call it, defensive standout for the season. And he just did not really do anything worth noting. But I tell you what, I think Danico Slaughter would be, I don't know, as far as contributing to the team, I can't go off of just one season, but Wesley Walker did a daggum good job. And so did Tamarion McDonald. McDonald was a dog, I'll be honest. But as far as, I don't know, it's hard to answer that, but I would have to say, yeah, I'd probably want one of those guys because I just don't know what this room offers me yet. So I'd rather at least have a guy or two that I absolutely know what I'm getting out of them, versus kind of taking the risk. And for this season alone, at least, that's my answer, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I would take this season's position group as a whole over that group I just mentioned, just because I feel like there is more talent in this group. It's just unproven talent.
I agree with that. If you're choosing room versus room, I would take this room all day long.
Yeah.
But if we were choosing players, and I would kind of struggle a little bit because there are some folks that left that I kind of hate they left. I'm not gonna lie, but
I absolutely, I absolutely wish that we had a guy like Wesley Walker back because he wasn't just a standout guy, but dude was consistent.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think he was arguably our best defensive back over the last couple of years just because of how consistent he was.
But I think guys like that left, and we're kind of puzzled like why. Because I don't think everything's about money. I know a lot of it is, don't get me wrong. But I think maybe he's seen some of these guys coming in and he's just like, yo, yes, I do not want to work this hard to keep my starting position. And
I think that's what a lot of the guys said. They looked at the people coming in and they said, I know that I can play somewhere. I don't want to have to fight for this.
I mean, look at Taven Jackson, right, in the quarterback room.
Yep.
Taven Jackson, I think, is a pretty decent talent. And I think he's kind of in a sticky situation in Indiana because Indiana's not a good team, but that's his home, right? He just went back home. Chastity, welcome into the show on Facebook. Guys, if y'all are watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, we don't know unless you comment. Give us a comment. We'll definitely shout you guys out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate that you're spending your Sunday right before you go back to work with us on this show talking about defensive backs. But no, I think a guy like Taven Jackson, I mean, he hit the portal not because Joe Milton was going to be the starting quarterback. It was he's seen Nico. And this guy's like, nah, it's not for me. I'm good. I'm going to go back home now. And I think that's what a lot of these guys in the defensive back room did last year is they seen the stouts, the studs coming in, and they're just like, you know what? They're moving and they're moving on. They're moving to better, faster, stronger physical. I mean, that's something that Willie Martinez said is, man, this is a young group, very inexperienced, but they're quick, they're fast, and they're physical. And that's what kind of excites me about this group. And like I said, I think Willie Martinez has a lot to prove this year, and I cannot wait to see it muster out on the field.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, we talked about it from the get-go tonight. The unknown of this group is what makes it the most intriguing for me because, man, I'm not going to say that it can get worse because obviously it can. But the last couple of years, the defensive back group has been what has kept Tennessee from winning some games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like I said, I'm not going to say it can get much worse because it obviously can. But, man, there's a lot of room for improvement that I think this group will bring this year.
One thing I love about this group, remember for so long, and I'm saying so long as in like 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, if a defensive back messed up, you couldn't just take him out the game.
Yeah.
Because he was the best you had. I don't feel like that's the case this year. I feel like if somebody really royally screws up, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, Willie Martinez could absolutely be like, sit your ass down, somebody else go in and fix that. You know, whatever. I do feel like they have the freedom to do that this year.
Yeah, and a guy that really stands out in my mind, and, you know, all the credit in the world to him because the improvement that he made from his junior season to his senior season was incredible. Kamal Haddon. Dude, in his junior season was
it went from being the most
ability.
and he did it kind of in a single season.
Yeah.
Because the first few games of this last year, he went from being one of the most hated, which a lot of that had to do with his attitude.
Yeah.
But then he really turned some things around into his second and third month right before he got hurt, which is unfortunate. But man, he made the Tennessee fans really like to see him succeed, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just continue on your point, but very much credit to him.
Yeah, but that's a guy that was a liability last year. But I mean, you look at the rest of the group and you're like, man, he's the best that I got. I can't just put somebody else in. But you know, you mentioned it too. The Florida game last year, dude was absolutely hated because he had to tackle on the guy, but all he did was just, you know, bump him with the shoulder, and then here goes ETN down the sideline for a touchdown.
Made him look like rock stars, dude.
Yeah, and then, now I believe it was 2 weeks later against South Carolina, has the awesome pick on the overthrow from Radler.
With like 30 seconds left to go in the half. Oh, that was so awesome.
Yeah, and just a lot of the plays that he made until he got hurt, it was a different Kamal Haddon than we have seen the rest of his career. And, you know, like I said, all credit to him for doing that, and wish him nothing but the best in the pros. But yeah, I mean, to your point, that's exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at a room that you can absolutely go get another guy now and not just have to keep this one guy in here because he's the best that you got.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, for forever, it was a bunch of 3 stars. Not to knock on 3 stars because some of them do absolutely turn into be dogs. But that was all we had was 3 stars at the defensive back group. And now it's like all we have is 4 stars or better. And that's where you want the group to be at. And that's why Christian Conyer, a guy who actually committed here not too long ago, I think he was the 23 commit or 22 commit from Kentucky. I don't think he's even with the team anymore. And that's because he was –
yeah, he transferred to Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. That's a 3-star guy that came here, and we were thankful. Like, yes, all right, we got somebody in the defensive back room. But this staff has done such a good job going bigger and better. And not to knock on Christian Conyer, I hope he has a great, future. But we had to get somebody that could compete and hold up one-on-one coverage in the SEC. Guys that you're definitely going to be lining up against are going pro. If you're a pro wide, or if you're an SEC wide receiver and you're the number 1 wide receiver, probably going pro. And so we got to have some guys that can kind of stand up to that talent.
Yeah, and to your point about the 3 stars, the guys that transferred out last year, 3-star, 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 another 3-star, another 3-star. Tamari McDonald was a 4-star coming out of high school, 3-star.
Well, he's the one that I was kind of like, him and Wesley Walker. I'm like, I wouldn't mind to have those guys back. They were pretty good.
Yeah, but then you look at the guys. This is just the guys that transferred in or were recruited in from this past season. McMurray was a 3-star out of high school, but he's also been in college for a couple of years. He's proven some stuff that he can do. Jermod McCoy is a 4-star. Jacoby Thomas is a high 3-star. Like, he's teetering on the edge of being a 4-star. And you got, then you got Boo Carter, a 4-star, right on the edge of being a 5-star. I believe Jordan Matthews is a 5-star. You got Caleb Beasley, another high 4-star. You got Edris Farouk, I believe is how you say his name, a high 3-star. So I mean, you mentioned it. You've replaced the 3-star guys with 4 and 5-star guys with a couple of 3-stars sprinkled in, and that's what you like to see.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's something that we're going to talk about, and maybe this can kind of foreshadow it, but this group's going to benefit a lot from another position group this year, if not another 2 position groups this year. It's awesome as a defensive back to be good and cover a guy. It's really awesome when you only have to do it for 3 or 4 seconds. And that's something that I think that our defensive line is going to do a hell of a job doing, and that's getting to the quarterback. And so later on in the summer, we'll definitely talk about the defensive line. If it's not next week, it'll probably be the week after because, I don't know. We've kind of been jumping back and forth from offense to defense. So, but no, the defensive line and the linebackers, depending on how we dial up some pressures. But this defensive back group, not only could it be one of the most opportunistic groups, at least as of late, they could also ride the back of one of the best defensive lines in the country and not have to cover a guy for 5 seconds. So I think that's even more benefit to Willie Martinez, because I'm telling you, I do think as a coach on the staff, if I have to point out a coach, I think he struggled the most, honestly, in my opinion, as far as having a consistent group. It's him, right? It's the defensive backs. They've struggled the most out of anybody in this team. Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% correct. But I'll also say I don't think it's all his fault.
I don't think so either.
I think Willie Martinez is a good coach. I just don't feel like he's had the guys that he really wants in there. But, we can also say the same thing about Tim Banks. Tim Banks is, he's a guy that he wants to play man-to-man, and he wants to blitz all the time. And, he's been given a lot of flack because that defensive back group has not been very good because they're having to play all this zone defense. They can't match up. I feel like you've got the guys now, whether you're Willie Martinez, whether you're Tim Banks, you've got the guys now that I think you could do what you want to. And now if they don't succeed, it's on you.
Oh yeah. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for the defensive back position preview. Like I said, a lot of players to talk about, a lot of guys that we probably never heard of or y'all have never heard of. But I do think that kind of makes it exciting for fall. I'm going to be – look, I'm sure everybody is that follows Tennessee football, but everybody's going to be looking at this position group in the fall and during fall camp to try to figure out who is the 4 or 5 starter. It's probably going to be 5 starters because we typically run a 4-2-5. So, yeah, I'm going to shoot it off the top, man. Who do you think the projected starting 5 are? We both agree Andre Turrentine is absolutely a starter.
Andre Turrentine, I'm going to go
he's your safety.
Yeah. I'm going to go
Who's your 2 outside corners?
I'm going to probably go with the 2 transfers in McMurray and I forgot the other one now.
Gerard McCoy.
Yeah, Jermod McCoy and Jalen McMurray. I'm going to go with them, my 2 outside guys.
Who's your? I was going to say who's your star? Who's your?
Give me Boo Carter at the star.
Yeah. Yep. And then last but not least, your nickel,
Jacoby Thomas.
It's not a bad list. I kind of like that. The only thing I would change is I think Ricky Gibson is going to start on the outside.
That's fair, and I think if I was to put somebody else in there, it would be Ricky Gibson, and maybe take out McMurray, have McMurray be that first guy to come in. So
and they're probably going to be swapping. They're probably going to be swapping. I mean, a lot of these guys probably, but I think I like Ricky Gibson. He showed me some stuff last year that I kind of liked. I wasn't, his mistakes I felt like were very much freshman mistakes, not necessarily, colossal lack of coaching, lack of talent, type mistakes. I think that was just, made mistakes. It is what it is. And more times than not, he didn't make mistakes. I mean, he's a very solid player. So I kind of like that list. I would probably piggyback that on, other than I think Ricky Gibson's going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty solid list. All right. I'm glad we both agree on that.
Yeah. Either way, Ricky Gibson is going to see the field. I think it's just a matter. Yeah. It's just a matter of, is he going to start or is it going to be one of these other guys? And another guy that's going to see the field that we didn't mention there is Jordan Thomas. I mean, he's going to see the field quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was just about to say is Jordan Thomas, maybe even Jordan Matthews. Like, you got some of these guys that are going to play undoubtedly. It's just I don't know if they'd be the starting five. I would just have to see how fall camp goes and see who's kind of leading. But from based off of spring and going into summer, that's what I've got to go off of. And I don't know. I do think there's three guys that I feel very solid in, and then it's just a blur after that, brother.
Yeah. So who are your three guys? I mean, obviously both of us have Boo Carter.
Yeah, Boo Carter, Andre Turrentine, and then Ricky Gibson was honestly my third. I really like Ricky Gibson.
See, I think Jacoby Thomas is that third for sure. He's going to be starting somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say between him, Gerard McCoy, there's got to be one of those on the field at all times.
Yeah.
And then who knows, man? I do like Jacoby Thomas from MTSU, and I don't know. I like ball hawks. If you're playing man to man, I want somebody that's going to be playing the ball, not the wide receiver. And so that's the kind of guys that I want on the field, because I'm telling you, I do think with our defensive line, we will be playing a lot more man than zone. And think about this as a fan watching the game, how many times do we get cooked in the zone defense, brother? Like,
and not just cooked.
Slant, another slant. Like, we just cannot stop that crap, dude.
Yeah, and what about what Missouri did to us last year? I mean, obviously Cody Schrader was unbelievable, but the passes that Missouri had, it was 1-2 stop and the ball's right there, and it's a guaranteed 8-9 yard gain each time because of how far off the ball our DBs are playing. I mean, I got to give complete and total credit to Missouri for the game plan in that game. Oh yeah, they game planned phenomenally against Tennessee last year, and we didn't have an answer for it, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think if we could play man a little bit more and let our defensive line and linebackers eat, literally, just go to work. I think defensive back group is going to be sitting in cruise control and just making sure that they don't mess up and get beat deep is the big thing, right? Don't get beat deep. But I don't know, man. I'm excited about this group. A lot of unknowns. I think we actually did a very good job of going in depth on this group, considering all the changes and all the new names. But we won't really know until we know, brother. And unfortunately, but I do feel confident. Like I said, whoever the five is doesn't necessarily mean it's set in stone, because this group is pretty flexible and we do have some depth. And I do think we can shuffle some things around and see who gets hot, man. I mean, just like baseball, a football player, especially in the defensive group, they could just get hot at the right moment and just be that dude that just kind of takes over. And hopefully we figure that out before SEC play. Yep, absolutely. So without further ado, I think we're going to move ahead to our second segment. And Skylar, do you want to tell us who our segment 2 sponsor is? That's going to be P&L Business Services, and we know firsthand that getting your monthly reporting, invoicing, bill pay, taxes, and other essential business services right is critical. And that's why at P&L Business Services, we go beyond bookkeeping by providing you with everything you need in your back office so you can have your time back and the peace of mind to do what you love most, which is building your business. Behind every successful business is a great bookkeeper. Contact PNLBusinessServices.com if this is something that you feel like could benefit you, if you're a small business owner or any business owner for that matter. Obviously, they do everything. They love to do full service clients. They like to take care of them from start to finish. Or if you just need payroll taken care of because it's a headache, whatever, they got you covered. PNLBusinessServices.com. Thank you so much for being our segment 2 sponsor. All right. Let's talk. I love this part, dude. We're into preseason predictions, bro. Like, we're talking predictions, season predictions, and you wanted to kick it off with Florida tonight. Yeah, we'll start with Florida. So, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first with this one? And
How many times do we get called Gator haters in the comments after this prediction?
I could be a lot, but honestly, with how brutal this schedule is, we might not be far off from it.
Would love to point out, I predicted them to go 4-8 last year, but our Vols could not freaking beat them in their house, and so they went 5-7. But you realize how many times I got called a Gator hater, even though I was pretty spot on, other than my team not doing their job. You know how rough that is, because you want to say, dude, I was actually kind of right, but then they're like, well, we beat you. Shut up, dude. Come on. All right, but no, let's just take a quick glance at this schedule, man. You just pulled it up on the screen. My God.
I mean, you really only have one guaranteed win on this schedule, and that's week 2 against Samford.
I would hope that there's 2 on this schedule. I think there's 2 guarantees. But then again, it's Florida and it's Billy Napier. And yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is crazy, man. Dan Mullen did a great job screwing over the next coach.
I have said that all along. I said, man, Dan Mullen just gave the double birds on the way out the door and said, screw whoever is next.
We threw cleats and we scheduled hard teams. I don't know. It's terrible, man. But I'm going to let you take this one first. I did the last prediction first, so I'm going to let you take this one first, man. Obviously, They start out at home against Miami. I think that's very key for the season opening. That's so tough, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you start off at home against Miami, and man, is this not a must win for both teams? I mean, Mario Cristobal,
yeah,
it's a must win for him. Billy Napier, obviously a must win for him. I've been back and forth on this game all off season, but I just do not trust Mario Cristobal at all, especially coming into the swamp. So I've got Florida beating Miami game 1 this year. Big win for Billy Napier starting off the season before they welcome in Samford to get a win in week 2. Then going against Texas A&M in week 3, going to be a tough game. Yeah, first-year head coach Mike Elko.
Yes.
Yeah. I blanked for just a second, but so that could be a place where Florida could take advantage there with first-year head coach. But I just feel like when it comes to the Jimmies and Joes on the field, Texas A&M is a little bit ahead of Florida right now. So I've got Texas A&M coming into Gainesville and taking that game. Another first-year head coach as Jeff Lebby welcomes in the Florida Gators. And I'm taking Mississippi State to win this game, and I will tell you why.
Oh, God. Billy's gone. All right, go ahead.
I will tell you why. Because of the pressure that is on Billy Napier to succeed this season. And Jeff Lebby, there is no pressure at all this season as far as expectations for this season. Now, going down the road, there's going to be some expectations, but Jeff Lebby, he's just going to go out and he's going to have his guys play ball.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I've got Mississippi State winning at home. I think the cowbell environment is going to get to Florida in this one.
I do think it being away does pose a pretty big threat. I mean, we've seen it the last several seasons. Home field is a big advantage these days.
Yes.
Especially in conference, being home or away. That could be a big factor. I mean, it's going to be loud. It's going to be hot. Obviously, it's still September, but yeah, I could see that absolutely.
Yeah, and you mentioned a home field advantage there. That's why I've got Florida beating UCF in this one. They're coming off a bye week, and they're playing at home. I think it's advantage Florida in this one, although we'll see where Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson are at this point in the season, because that's where KJ Jefferson went to was UCF. So
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's a big pickup if he can stay healthy for Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a win there for Florida, but that was not going to be easy.
No.
Gus Malzahn is a very good coach.
There's a big rivalry there. I mean, I understand people look at UCF like a lesser opponent, but
hey, they're in the Big 12 now.
That's what I was just about to say. They are now part of the Power 4. So, yeah, all right. Let's just we know this one, right? We got them at home. It's no big deal, right? I mean, we're 1-1 against Billy Napier. So, I mean, it's Billy Napier's never put a kneel in. All right, like I'm just.
Tennessee's going to win this game, but I've just got this strange feeling it's going to be a lot closer than what we need it to be. So
hope not. I freaking hope not. Dude.
I hope not too, but it is Florida, and we've struggled with Florida even in the wins. So
it is Kentucky.
You're going to be surprised with this one. I've got Florida beating Kentucky in the swamp this year.
I am very surprised with that one because Kentucky Kentucky's owned Florida the last 3 years. Maybe?
Yeah, three or 4 years.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, I like this pick. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kentucky to lose to Florida in this one. Once again, it is at home for Florida. I think that will play a factor. But, this could very well be another game that Florida drops because, we mentioned that Kentucky has owned Florida as of late. We'll see where Kentucky is at this point in the schedule. But then you got a bye week before going to Jacksonville to play Georgia. We're just going to skip that one. That's a loss along with the next one. That's a loss as well.
We got Allen Anthony from Facebook. Y'all gonna cover Tennessee volleyball or what? Bro, ain't you watching like Angel Reese and Chicago Sky? What are you doing, brother? Come on now. No, I appreciate you tuning in, brother. We really do appreciate you. Is volleyball doing something special that I don't know about, or is he joking?
Tennessee volleyball is actually done very well.
I know they were doing good, but I thought their season was over, so I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's over, but okay. They've got a lot of high expectations going into next season as well. But
I mean, why not, dude? But go ahead, finish after. So we're at Texas because obviously Georgia and Texas we just skipped over really quickly because.
Yeah, I mean
it's playoff teams. Yeah, I mean, LSU.
This game on November 16th intrigues me because I don't know how good LSU is going to be this year. Yeah, you got was it Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback this year? And I think that he is good. I'm just intrigued to see how the rest of the offense molds around him, as well as if the defense can actually step up and stop somebody this year.
Yeah, that was a big point of emphasis. I mean, that's why they lost against Ole Miss last year, 52-56 or whatever it was. I mean, it was stupid. Okay, I like that.
But I do think ultimately LSU does win this game.
Yeah. I think is this not just a big difference between coaches?
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Kelly, I think he's got a little bit of pressure this year, honestly. I know he won the West a couple years ago, but he did it losing 4 games in a season. I mean, it's not like he had this special team. I think LSU I think Brian Kelly could be under a little bit of pressure. I mean, he signed a massive contract. He's got to start cashing in those checks, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think he's at risk of being fired this year by any means.
Not at all.
But yes, there is definitely some pressure on Brian Kelly at LSU.
Oh yeah.
You welcome in Ole Miss in the last week of the season. I've got Ole Miss making the playoffs this year, so I think Ole Miss gets a win.
High on the lane train. I got you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, they have sold their soul to win this year. so if they don't do it, then something's wrong.
They have lost a lot of recruits. I will say that.
They have, but also spoiler alert: Lane Kiffin will be gone after this season. But we'll get to that once we do Ole Miss schedule prediction down the road.
Fair. That is fair.
At Florida State to end the season, that is going to be a loss as well. So I have got Florida going 4-8 this year. And what about this brutal stretch on the back end of the season? You play
Tennessee, right? I mean, you Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, at Florida State. At Florida State is rough because you can only imagine what Mike Norvell's team is going to be like after getting snubbed last year, in which I don't necessarily feel like they were snubbed. I think it was just very unfortunate circumstances. Because again, you're looking at the 4 best teams, and Florida State just wasn't one of the best 4 teams at the end of the day when it came to everything that happened, right?
Yeah.
Justin Williams, he said swap A&M and UCF for a 4-8.
I can see that. I can see
he's
that.
got Florida beating A&M. Okay. And losing to UCF.
I can see that because we don't know where Texas A&M is going to be with Mike Elko in Game 3 of the season. And, we already mentioned KJ Jefferson with Gus Malzahn there at UCF. I can very well see a win against A&M and a loss to UCF. But, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns towards the beginning of the schedule for me. But absolutely we know what's going to happen down the stretch.
All right, guys, get your screenshot so you can talk crap later on the season. Go ahead and do it, and then let's wipe this thing off and let me go to work here. Let me go to work because we got Miami coming into town. Let me pull up my notebook. All right, we got Miami. All right, coming into town, into the swamp, and I actually agree with you. I think the Florida Gators are going to beat Miami. I don't know why, but look, Florida played Utah twice in the last 2 years as their opening game. And I'm like, man, what are they doing? But they actually found a way to win one of those games, right? Am I correct? Maybe.
Yes, they won the year with Anthony Richardson.
Yes. That was a hell of a game because he had that that signed his contract actually. So
yeah.
I think somehow they can find a way. And I'm kind of with you. Mario Cristobal has been this highly talked about head coach of Miami, but I just don't feel like he's really done anything there. I don't understand why the talk is there. I don't feel like it's warranted, in my opinion. I think the Florida Gators actually comes out with a win there. Sanford, that is an easy win. Texas A&M, they get Texas A&M home, and I think that's huge. But I think this is where Texas A&M, talent-wise, hasn't lost too much. Yes, they've gone through coaching change, but overall, Texas A&M still has one of the better rosters in the country, and I think Texas A&M actually pulls out the win here. So that's going to be a loss for the Florida Gators. Then they go to Stark Vegas, Mississippi State. And I do think they beat Mississippi State and first-year head coach Jeff Levy. Sorry. Mike Elko is the head coach of A&M. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's on me. So, all right. First month, technically, even though I know they play in August, but first month, you go into your bye week, you're sitting 3-1. And if you're Billy Napier, I think that's actually best case scenario.
Yeah, I don't see a way that he goes 4-0 in the first 4 games.
No.
So
because there's a very good chance he could lose the opening game.
Yes.
And, you hope you get one, if not both, of A&M and Mississippi State, right?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of with you. I don't see him swiping. If they swipe it, look out, because Gators might have actually found something in the offseason that we just had no idea was there. So then we go into UCF after the bye week, and I do think Gus Malzahn has something for the Gators. I think UCF pulls out the win. I'm with Justin on this one. Justin, thank you for tuning in. UCF gets that win. And then, obviously, they come home. Billy Napier is not one in Neyland, and he's not going to start this year. So give the Vols a dub. This is where it gets a little crazy, man. I'm not going to lie. Kentucky's beat them several years in a row, and I'm going to pick Kentucky until they lose. So give me Kentucky. Georgia, Texas, you already know. It's 2 L's there. And then as I was talking to you earlier, they play LSU. At this point, I think Billy Napier is actually done for. And if he's not, the team is done for. LSU, that's a chalked up L. I mean, I think, like I said, Brian Kelly has got a lot to prove at LSU, and he can't lose to a 3 and whatever they are at this point, 3-5, 3-6. I think they're 3-5 at that game. He can't lose to that type of Florida Gator team. So LSU gets the win there. And then Ole Miss comes to Florida, to the swamp, but I think Ole Miss is going to be too good for them. I think Ole Miss gets the win. And I'm telling you, this team is gone. And then for no other reason than I felt so bad that I was choosing a bunch of L's against Florida, I've got them beating Florida State at the very end. I think the rivalry, for some reason, is going to bring out the best in this team. Maybe it's because it's an interim head coach and they're playing for the head coach. I don't know. I just feel like they can beat this Florida State team for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I think it's because I felt so bad and I just couldn't in my right mind have the Florida Gators going 3-9. So I've got them going 4-8 as well. But it's definitely a rough patch, and I do think this could be, especially if it plays out this way, things could take a turn quickly after the first month of football because, I mean, we've all mentioned it, man. This schedule is brutal, and UCF, dude, is no knockover. I know they're new to the Big 12, but Gus Malzahn had that team cooking last year, and I feel like he upgraded at the quarterback position in a massive way.
Yep.
They better not look over UCF, man.
Yeah, and I don't think they will, but
you got to schedule. Yes, you have to get your wins where you can get your wins, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You can't play with danger.
But I just gotta say, man, you're stretching for that Florida State win, and I know you said
100%. Oh, I got it. Like I know, but dude, did I really have them finishing losing 8 straight? No.
I mean that's fair. But Florida State this year, I'm not gonna say that they upgraded at quarterback, but I think that they got close to what they had last year at quarterback with DJ Uiagalelei transferring from Oregon State. Because if it was Clemson, Uiagalelei, man, Florida State is not going to be very good this year. But Oregon State, Uiagalelei, he looks very good out there. So I think this transfer to Florida State is we're gonna find out if it was Oregon State getting the best out of him, or was it Clemson maybe not getting the best out of him, and he's really better than we think. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Florida State's going to be too good for Florida. But
I think so too. I'm making it very well known that this is very much circumstantial, right? And like I said, I just couldn't in my right mind have them losing 8 in a row. I mean, maybe they pick up a win against Kentucky, UCF, obviously, but I just don't think it's a good season for the Florida Gators, man. It's a tough schedule, and I don't think Graham Mertz is that decent. I mean, he's decent as far as statistics. I just don't think he's that guy to carry an offense. He's going to need some weapons around him, and they just lost their best wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall. So who's going to fill his shoes, right?
Yeah, not only that, but your best running back in ETN transferred to Georgia.
Transferred out.
I mean,
exactly. Dude's got no weapons. At least not that we know. I mean, obviously that's what the season's for, but yeah, I mean, either way, look, discredit where I've got the wins and losses. We both have Florida Gators going 4-8 this year, and probably what would be Billy Napier's last year.
Yeah, and you didn't say which game, but you wrote down the schedule that you sent to me. Where do you have Napier getting fired?
It's got to be if he loses, if it plays out the exact way this is, he either gets fired after the Tennessee game or Kentucky game. I put it after the Kentucky game because that would be, I think, 4 or 5 straight against Kentucky. I think it'd be 4. I think it'd be 4 straight against Kentucky. But if he, at that point, would have a losing record against Tennessee and in Florida Gators country, that is an absolute no-no. He would have 4 straight losses against Kentucky. And then at that point, he would be 4-4 in the season, and you're about to pretty much guarantee the next 2 losses. So they might as well just go ahead and, in my opinion, they just go ahead and take the loss right before the bye week against Georgia, figure out what they need to do at the head coaching job, whether it's interim, whatnot. But I think that Kentucky game is where I had it penciled in.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull mine back up real quick because
see, it's completely different with this.
I was going to say, I don't think that I don't think that Billy Napier will be the head coach after this season, for sure. Billy Napier is gone. But with this right here, I think that
he keeps it to the end of the year.
I think he's fired before Florida State. Either he gets fired after LSU or after Ole Miss, because and here's kind of why I think after Ole Miss, because the way I've got it set up right here, you're looking at 4-4 after the Georgia game. You lose to Texas and LSU, you're sitting at 4-6, and you've still got hope. Hey, if we somehow pull out these last 2 games, we can become bowl eligible. I do think that bowl eligible would be enough to keep Billy Napier's job for 1 more year, but it's going to be stretching it.
Is it sad that bowl eligible with this schedule, in my opinion, would be overachieving for the Florida Gators?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to believe that bowl eligible in any year would be overachieving for Florida. But I think once you get that loss to Ole Miss to pick up your 7th loss of the season,
yeah, I agree. That eliminates bowl eligibility. Yeah, exactly. I got you. I agree with that 100%. It's unfortunate because I don't think Billy was dealt a good hand in all this. Now, he's not done a great job of coaching. He's made some big coaching mistakes, especially against Utah in the opening games. He's done some great things. Don't get me wrong. He's beat Tennessee once. But I overall, these schedules that he's been stacked up against are wild. I mean, they're wild. So,
and I just want to go on record and say, I think Billy Napier is a good coach. And once he leaves Florida or once he gets fired from Florida, there's going to be a mid-major school somewhere that's going to pick him up and they're going to have success. But it's almost impossible to have success at Florida with what he has been stacked up against.
yeah. They've had some recruiting scandals, which is kind of weird, which is another reason why I think he won't be there after this year. But either way, Florida Gators 4-8.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep, both of us have them going 4-8. So it's going to be interesting to see this year. And like we said, if Florida somehow with this schedule gets to be bowl eligible,
that's got to be best case scenario, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see
worst case scenario 3-9, best case 6-6.
Dude, I'm going to go worst case scenario 2-10.
Ooh.
If Florida, and like I said, that is the wheels completely falling off because
you lose to Miami and I
mentioned it. I mentioned it. There is only one guaranteed win on this schedule, and that is Samford.
I think you're right on that.
And I think that you do pick up at least one of Miami, Mississippi State, or UCF. But, man, it's hard to just sit here and say, yeah, they're going to win all three of those games.
From that scenario, it's hard for me to even say they go 6-6 is the best case scenario.
Yeah,
that's rough, man. Because you think of Florida, right? You look at the logo and their history, and you're looking. It's like Miami, that's a win. Samford, that's a win. A&M, if that's not a win, that's a really good game. Mississippi State, that's a win. UCF, that's a win. Tennessee, let's be honest, should be a win, right? Kentucky, a win. Georgia, a lot like A&M. If it's not a win, it should be close. And then Texas, it's kind of weird because they don't normally play each other. But LSU, historically, Florida, even in LSU's best years, had a chance against LSU. So that would be your third, I guess, big toss-up game between LSU, Georgia, and A&M. Ole Miss and Florida State. Florida State, that's a win historically for Florida, in my opinion. Like, they've been that much better than Florida State historically. But this year, man, you just can't think about it like that. Like, it's just their team is not anywhere near where their roster was or has been for so long. So it's rough, man, because their toss-up games went from being, teams like LSU, Georgia, A&M, Alabama, whatever, to now their toss-up games are Mississippi State, UCF,
Texas A&M, Kentucky,
Samford. I mean, whatever. So yeah, it's rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario is 2-10 for this team. I do think best case scenario is 7-5, and I'll go ahead and say which games I think could be those 7 wins if it was to happen. Like I said, I'm not anywhere near predicting this, but I think that you've got a possibility of starting off 5-0 before dropping the game to Tennessee. I think you would get a win against Kentucky, and then in that final stretch,
got to find one between LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State, right?
I'm thinking LSU would be the one game that I think they would win in that stretch.
I feel like you're not a believer in LSU this year. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know what to think about LSU because
fair enough.
You lost Malik Neighbors. She was Jaden Daniels, and then who was the other wide receiver? I can't remember his name now. But he also went in the first round. I
don't know.
This is bad for
I don't follow
here.
I don't follow him.
I mean, you lost your top 3 guys, and really it was a Jaden Daniels show last year when it comes to throwing the ball and running the ball. So you lose a big piece there. I just don't know. I don't know what to think about LSU yet. I mean, they're going to be good. Hey, I just don't know how good.
We'll get to them, brother. We'll get to them, but we're going to wrap up this thing. We both have the Gators going 4-8. But we're going to wrap this thing up and head over to Mississippi State. But before we do that, you want to let the folks know about our final segment sponsor?
I will do that. So our third segment sponsor is Kaizen Painting. Do you want a colorful life? Kaizen is a painting and drywall company that provides residential, commercial, exterior, and interior services. At Kaizen Painting, we understand the importance of a beautifully painted home and properly installed and repaired drywall. We're here to bring your vision to life. We care about providing you with a personalized, efficient, and quality service. If you live in Knoxville and surroundings, contact us for a free estimate at kaizenpainting.com. Color your life the Kaizen way. So, Skylar already mentioned it. Our segment 3 in this one is going to be the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So, do you want me to go first again, or with me doing Florida?
I can do it first. Get the schedule up on the screen for me if you don't mind.
Yep.
Because if you thought that last schedule was brutal, just take a quick gander here. And if you're listening on podcast, they start out with Eastern Kentucky, and you're like, "Whoa, dude, that's not Miami. That is pretty good. That's a great win, right, for Mississippi State." But then, all right, we got Arizona State, we got Toledo, we got Florida. Listen here, I know. I was just scratching the surface. We got Texas, Georgia. By the way, at Texas, at Georgia, Texas A&M. Arkansas, oh, you're being too kind. UMass, oh, you're being too kind. At Tennessee, Missouri, at Ole Miss. My God. I mean, two of the most brutal schedules I think you're going to see in all of college football is right here with Florida and Mississippi State. But without further ado, let's get into this thing. I've got them winning against Eastern Kentucky. I think that's going to be a great game for Mississippi State to kind of get maybe their feet underneath them. Hopefully, they build up some momentum. But they're going at Arizona State. Not sure why we're doing that, but that's what we're doing. And I don't think that's going to be a good weekend for Mississippi State Bulldogs. I think they're going to drop one, Arizona State. Arizona State, solid football team. And if I'm not mistaken, is Arizona State not where Jade Daniels came from?
I believe you might be right.
Transferred from Arizona State, I believe, to LSU. Yeah. And I think that's where Jaden Rashada went, but he's at Georgia now. And I knew that. But Jaden Rashada went from Florida to Arizona State. Anyways, I think that's an L. Toledo. Don't know about Toledo that well, but they get them at home, and I'm hoping that's a win for Mississippi State. I think they need that. As I predicted in the last prediction, I think Florida will beat Mississippi State. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think Florida will beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a loss. But then Texas, Georgia, kind of the same thing. It's an L. It's an L. Like there's not much talk about. Those teams are poised to have great seasons this year. Texas A&M though, the battle of this whatever color, red and white. It's whatever. They get them at home, and I think that's big. This is a battle of first-year head coaches. But at the end, I think Texas A&M gets the better of them. So I think that's another loss for Mississippi State. And again, this is a brutal schedule. But they get Arkansas at home too, and I think this is a good bounce-back game. I don't have a ton of expectations for Arkansas. I hope Sam Pittman does great, but I honestly don't think that he should have had the chance to coach again this year. So I'm actually going to give Mississippi State the win over Arkansas. Arkansas has lost a lot, including who we talked about, KJ Jefferson, to UCF. But I think that win is massive because it kind of allows them to get on a little bit of a streak as they beat UMass in what we would typically call the SEC bye week at the end of the season. But then you got this 3-game stretch to finish your first year as a head coach in the SEC, and I think they lose all 3 of them. You got at Tennessee, that's a L. You got home against Missouri, but I think Missouri is going to be a stout team once again as they return basically their whole offense. So I think that's a loss. And then you got at Ole Miss and the Egg Bowl. And, who knows? Maybe it could be the start of something special. But I do think Lane Kiffin is going to finish the season strong and get the win there. So all in all, very similar to Florida. I've got Mississippi State going 4-8 in the season. And I've only got them picking up one SEC win against Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad prediction right there because, what exactly are the expectations for Jeff Lebby this year coming into the season. I mean,
I have no idea because
the
team was not good last year. They couldn't get any offense without their quarterback giving his absolute all because he wanted to be there. And Rogers, what was his first name?
Will Rogers.
Will Rogers, thank you. Who honestly stayed there because he's so loyal, right, to his team. But in reality, he should have absolutely found somewhere else to further his game because I think that kid was good. But he stayed there, and ultimately, I think it was a bad relationship with him and the coach. I really do, and I stood by that. I stood by that since like week 2 of last year. I didn't think they gelled well together, and it ended up not being the greatest season for either one of them.
But, I think that last year Mississippi State should have had a better year than they did. And, it's unfortunate what happened the year before. You had the tragic passing of Mike Leach. You wanted to make a hire to try to keep your team together, which is why they ended up hiring within. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a feel-good story, right? It was I don't know either. I don't care. It was a defensive coordinator. But yeah, I mean, it was a feel-good story to hire within, get the defensive coordinator up, but you kind of had a bad feeling from the start. Man, I can't think of his name. I'm sitting here trying to think about it.
I'm looking it up right now.
Do it, man.
Zach Arnett.
Thank you. That was terrible for radio, but whatever.
Yeah,
Zach Arnett, dude, he took over, but you just never really had that good feeling about it because you knew he was a defensive-minded head coach and you knew he was going to prioritize defense, which, okay, that's fine, but at least let your offense coordinator run the offense. And I don't think that really ever happened. I think he tried to micromanage everything, and it just didn't work out.
I think that there was some of that, but also Mike Leach recruited a team for his style offense, their air raid style offense.
And he tried to completely change it.
He tried to go more of a RPO type offense, and that's not something Will Rogers was comfortable with. That's not something that the rest of the offense was comfortable with either. And you could see at times, like the one that sticks out in my mind, the LSU game. I think they went 4 straight 3-and-outs to start the ball game and gained a total of 3 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin has got 5-7 with a win against Florida. So kind of one up in yours just a little bit.
That's fine. That's nice to know he's still awake. He told me he was going to fall asleep to listen to the podcast. So, yeah, well, it's good to still have you here. You know what I'm saying? But no, I mean, I don't think that's a bad pick. And I think he agrees with the rest of my schedule there. So, yeah, I mean, 5-7 with the win against Florida. I think that would be huge. I think that would be huge as far as like national coverage. If Mississippi State starts their season out 3-1 with a win over Florida, and if they're competitive against, Arizona State at Arizona State, that may give them some feel-good juice before they, I think, get their teeth knocked in against Texas and Georgia. But who knows, man?
Yeah, so Skylar has got 4-8 for Mississippi State this season. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and clear that, and I'll go ahead with mine. I agree with you. Eastern Kentucky is going to be a win to start the season. Arizona State at Arizona State to start the season. And Mississippi State continues to go out west with teams. The last 2 years they've played Arizona. I think you actually went 2-0 against Arizona over the past 2 years, which is crazy because of how Arizona's season ended last year. I mean, I think they were 9-3, 10-2, something like that. They had a very good year to end the year. I started to say loss to Arizona State here, but after looking up some things, there's not a lot of people giving positive things about Arizona State this year. So I think Mississippi State goes out and steals one from the Sun Devils.
There you go.
You get a win at home in week 3 against Toledo. And as we saw in the last one, I've got Florida coming into Mississippi State and taking a loss. So I've actually got Mississippi State going 4-0 to start the year. Starting to gain a little bit of momentum. I think that the Jeff Lebby offense is going to it's going to create some fireworks there in Starkville. Their defense might struggle some.
As a Tennessee fan, nothing will make me happier than to see Florida already losing this early in the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, but that's pretty much where it ends. As you run into Texas and Austin, and then you run into Georgia and Athens. those are going to be two brutal games for Mississippi State.
For most teams.
Yeah, neither one of them are probably going to be close. The Texas A&M game intrigues me a little bit because, you mentioned both of these coaches are first-year head coaches in the SEC. I think Mike Elko comes into a little bit better situation than Jeff Lebby does.
I agree.
And I think he's got a few more dudes on that team than Jeff Lebby does. So I do have A&M coming into Starkville and taking a win here. I also agree with you in this Arkansas game. I want to see Sam Pittman do well. Love the guy. I mean, how can you not? His whole post game, I'm going to go home, get me a cold beer. That whole personality there. But unfortunately, it's just not going to work out for Pittman. Is spoiler. I think he gets fired this year as well. But we'll get to that once we do Arkansas schedule. Mississippi State gets a win against Arkansas here. You get a game against UMass at home, in which you also get a win. So at this point, you're bowl eligible. You're 6-3 before you go into this 3-game stretch at the end.
Might even be ranked. Dare I say they might even be ranked, okay?
Possibly, or sitting right outside of it.
Right. They'd be one of the higher unranked teams at 6-3, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But, you go to Knoxville, and I think that Tennessee gets a convincing win in this game. So Mississippi State picks up their fourth loss. I also agree with you on Missouri. I think Missouri is also a playoff team this year. A lot of it because I think they're going to be that good this year, but also they have got a cupcake of a schedule, which we'll also get to later down the road. But Missouri comes into Starkville and gets a win. The Egg Bowl. Normally on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm actually kind of mad that they moved it from Thanksgiving Day because, obviously Thanksgiving is about family and all that. But at the end of the night, do you not look forward to sitting down and watching the Egg Bowl on TV?
Eating deviled eggs? Come on. No, I'm joking. It's all good.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit mad that they moved it to Saturday, but the Egg Bowl, it doesn't matter how good either one of these teams are during the season or how bad either one of the teams are in the season. It is always a toss-up in this game as to who wins. I mean, you look at Mike Leach's final Egg Bowl. I mean, Mississippi State wasn't great. Ole Miss was pretty good, but they fell off at the end, and Mississippi State got a win in that game. I think that this is going to be an exciting game, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game because of the Lane Kiffin offense and the Jeff Lebby offense. I do think Ole Miss prevails, but this is going to be a close ball game because anything happens in that Egg Bowl. So Mississippi State under first-year head coach Jeff Lebby, I've got going 6-6, making a bowl game.
But here's my thing with your schedule, and I love this. I think it is an optimistic schedule. And the reason why I say that is because, look, they're losing the games that they're probably supposed to lose. I hate to say it like that. But Georgia, Texas, A&M maybe would be the only one that would maybe not supposed to lose to. But Tennessee, Missouri, Ole Miss, I mean, those teams are third, fourth, fifth, sixth-year head coaches at this point. I mean, they've got better situations, right? And so they lose to those teams. But then you're talking about taking advantage and winning the games you're supposed to win. And that's teams like Eastern Kentucky, Arizona State, Toledo, Florida, and Arkansas, UMass, of course. You're talking about winning basically all the toss-up games going your way. And you got to do that to get bowl eligible. And I think that even with this schedule, if they can do that, that would be tremendous. And the way their schedule sets up, I do think it's absolutely possible because you definitely don't face all six of those teams at once, right? You do have that rough 3-week stretch, Texas, Georgia, and A&M. But then, like you said, you're feeling good about Arkansas to kind of help get out of that losing streak. And then you play UMass, which is great. You probably can rest some guys during that game. But no, I like that. I do think this is them basically winning the games that they need to win, and then obviously losing the games that they're definitely going to be predicted to lose.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I think another reason why I'm so optimistic about this Mississippi State team this year under Jeff Lebby is there is no expectations for him this season. I mean, after what happened last year, it couldn't have gone much worse than last year. But, Jeff Lebby coming in, you just want to have an exciting brand of football, which I think he's going to bring to Mississippi State. So I think that your prediction at 4-8, I think that's a good baseline because you're picking up the wins that you're supposed to have against Eastern Kentucky, Toledo, and UMass.
And I didn't do research on Arizona State. I seen them last year under Rashada, and I thought they were a pretty explosive team. And so I understand that some things have changed. So maybe Arizona State is a good win, and I think that'd be a great win for Mississippi State as far as momentum. But I was just going off of my mind, where was Arizona State last time I seen them? And I thought they had a little bit more talent than where Mississippi State is at right now. That was my biggest thing.
Yeah, I see where you're at with that, but I think that the absolute floor for me this year for Mississippi State is going to be 3-9. I think you pick up your wins against Eastern Kentucky, Toledo, and UMass.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is if things just absolutely don't go Jeff Lebby's way. You drop one at Arizona State, you drop to Florida and Arkansas.
Basically go winless in the SEC, right? I mean, that is the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt type season.
Yeah. So I think that's the absolute worst case. Best case scenario, I'm going to say, and this is absolute best.
You say? Okay, go for it. I was going to say, do you just say? I can see you going 8-4 here.
That's what I'm going to go with. I think, like I said, that is absolute best case. Everything
what is it, Ole Miss and A&M?
Right. Yes.
Is it Ole Miss and A&M? Okay. Yeah,
yes. Yeah. Ole Miss because it's the Egg Bowl. Anything can happen in that game. Texas A&M because, I don't know exactly where Texas A&M is going to be by this point in the season. I would think that they would be pretty good.
We got Woods, Water, and Mizzou podcast up in here. He said M-I-Z. I will not finish that. I'm sorry.
Nope, I'm not either. Hey, I gave it to him one time because Skeeter, for those of you that have tuned in for a while, Skeeter had a bad accident back earlier and actually lost 3 toes. Talked to him the other day. He was on the SEC podcast with me. He's doing very well.
Good.
But after his surgery,
right? He got to meet Drinks in the hospital or something like that.
His parents, Drinks' parents, yeah. So that was a cool situation there too. But after his first surgery, man, I gave him one of the ZOUs at the end, but that's the only one I'll ever give him. So
how dare you, brother? Under no circumstances, brother.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
But no, like I said, absolute best case scenario, 8-4, because we don't know where Texas A&M is going to be by the point in the season Mississippi State faces them. Mississippi State does get them at home as well, and then I already mentioned anything can happen in the Egg Bowl, but I think that 5-7, 6-6 is most likely what they'll go this season.
Yeah, I think, which is unfortunate because it's my prediction, but I think 4-8 is the floor. I think they're going to get 4 wins, however they get it. That is the absolute base. But I can't go higher than really 7-5. Unfortunately, I don't see it in the first year. I think these other teams are just got more talent, and I think they're better established right now with their roster talent and stuff like that, with their coaching situations, that it's just going to make it hard for Mississippi State, in my opinion. Now, I know I'm basing it off of paper, and I know the game has to be played, but that's why, I mean, I can't predict something crazy like that happening, right? And so, no, I think for the most part, we agree. I mean, we don't see Mississippi State running the which if they go 8-4, that would be a phenomenal first season for Mississippi State. But for the most part, I think the games that I'm most intrigued for Mississippi State are Arizona State, because you got it. That's a swing game. Yep. You win that game, you could have a good season, make it. But if you lose that game, hold on. How many more is about to come after that? But Arizona State, I think Florida is a big one because that's the SEC opener, and I think that is also a big swing game. And then A&M and Arkansas. Yeah, that's my 4 games. If Mississippi State can win those 4 games, they're going to have a really good season.
Yes.
If they win half those games, it could be a season, but it's a good foundation, I guess. If they lose more than they win in those 4 games, it's not a good season for Mississippi State. So those 4 games are absolutely where I'm focusing my attention for Mississippi State. If you're talking to me like, why would you watch Mississippi State this year? It'd be for those 4 games.
Yeah. So I know we've given our,
but whatever.
Yeah. So I know we've given our predictions of how we think it's going to go, but what do you think is the more likely scenario for those 4 games? Start, bench, cut, 2-2, 3-1, or 4-0 for those 4 games.
I think 2-2 because I think the only game I feel good about, which is really weird to say this, but I think the only game I feel good about, and just because I don't know where they are, but it's Arkansas. I think they could beat Arkansas. Like, I feel pretty good about their chances against Arkansas. But Florida, man, they could have something brewing. Arizona State, I have no idea where they are. You said that you've kind of read some negative things about them, so let's just go ahead and chalk that up as an L. But Texas A&M, they're under a first-year head coach as well, under Mike Elko, but I think they have more talent than Mississippi State, period. And so I think 2-2 is realistic. What about you? I guess if I'm starting, so 2-2, I'm going to bench 3-1. I'm going to cut 1-3.
Okay. Well, what about 4-0?
How can I start, bench, cut 4 options, brother? Come on.
No. I mean it because I originally said 4-0 instead of 1-3.
Oh, my fault. Okay, well then I would have to cut 4-0 and then bench, the other one. Whatever.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to flip the front too. Just because of my schedule prediction, I think I'm going to start 3-1. I'm going to bench 2-2 just because in those 4 games, I don't see them going 4-0.
Yeah.
So I think that 2-2 is more likely than 4-0, which is why I'm going to cut 4-0 in that stretch.
So we just flip 3-1 and 2-2 then.
Yep.
Hey, Woods Water and Mizzou podcast comes in here with a good question. He said, when are we going to preview the UMass schedule on the SEC? They're playing 3 schools. And that's funny that he brings that up because they could be playing 3 SEC. I don't know this for a fact, obviously. I'm just going off this comment. But that means that UMass is probably getting paid roughly $3 million to play those 3 games in total.
But let's ask him about this one.
Typically, you pay like $800,000, right, for a team to come in and beat the crap out of them. UMass is getting a payday. Like, they should honestly have a really good coaching staff and players and whatnot.
No, but listen to this. Mizzou is going to UMass this year.
Oh, that is crazy. No way. He even said it. He said they're hosting. Why are you going to UMass? What are we doing, Missouri?
Hey,
they had to throw in a wrinkle because they've got such a cupcake schedule. They're like, well, hold on. We'll go to UMass, all right? Like, we'll go there. No, that's crazy. That's just an excuse so that the Missouri can wear an alternate uniform. That's all that is. That's
No, he did say that it was. I talked to him about that back earlier. He said it was moves that the previous athletic department made that was very questionable. So yeah, that's where that comes in. But
all right, so UMass prediction coming to you live next week. All right.
Yeah, I forget who the third one is now, but yeah, Missouri plays UMass, Mississippi State, and then
probably Auburn or something.
It's either Auburn or no, it's not Vanderbilt. We did them last week.
I have no idea.
I think it might. I think it honestly might be Auburn. I can't remember off the top of my head, but for Mississippi State, Skylar has 4-8, and I have 6-6 for this season. Mississippi State.
I think I like your picks overall more than mine so far through the first 3 teams. I mean, I think we've had the same exact record except for Mississippi State on all of them, but I think overall, I think I like your picks a little bit better than mine.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm gonna have to do some homework.
But that's just 3 teams out of 16 in the SEC now, so we'll see how it goes down the stretch.
So who's going to be the next 2, brother? Live right here on the show. Who's going to be next week's 2 teams?
I want to do Arkansas for sure next. I think that's one of the next ones. Spoiler, we are going to try to go more of the teams that we're lower on, working up to the teams that we're higher on. So I'm going to pick Arkansas.
And then that means I guess I have to pick the next one. Oh, pressure. Oh, pressure. So I'm going to give you options. Okay. But I'll give you 2 options. I think the first option has to be South Carolina.
Okay.
But I think the second option has to be Has to be Kentucky, right?
That was the two that I was thinking. You know what? Let's go ahead and get let's go ahead. I was gonna say let's go ahead and get the third coach that I think will be fired in the SEC this year. We'll go Arkansas and South Carolina for next week. So that'll be interesting to see.
There it is. He answered it for us.
Georgia, appreciate it.
Of course, Georgia, please. UMass. All right, I don't even want to talk about Georgia. Whatever. No, UMass. We're talking about UMass. Remember that. All right, that's how it's warranted.
Yeah,
but no. So next week we're talking Arkansas. We're talking South Carolina. Live. That's going to be segment 2 and 3. Be here for the record predictions. As far as position group, brother, we're probably going to bounce it back to the offensive side of the ball. What are we talking about next week for position groups?
Let's see. We did running backs in week 1.
That's all we done. We've done running backs and defensive backs so far. Let's back to the offensive side. You want to do tight ends?
Let's do the tight ends. We got some good tight ends to talk about. So
let's do the tight ends. So segment 1 of next week is going to be tight ends. Segment 2 is probably going to be Arkansas. Segment 3 is going to be South Carolina as far as record predictions. And guys and gals, we are 7 Saturdays away. The next time you'll be listening to us will be 6 Saturdays away from football time in Tennessee and everywhere across the country. It's going to be great, man. Great time to be alive.
Yep, absolutely. So before we close out, we do have some news from some other sports.
Oh, Woodswater Mizzou is getting a little cocky over here. I don't like how comfortable he is right now. Just for that, out of spite, I think we should do Missouri's next. No, I'm joking, man. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for the engagement. But yes, your Mizzou team, I will go ahead and let you know you're in the top 7 in my book. And that's saying something when you got Texas, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, whatever, Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're going to be high on mine as well. So
they did beat Ohio State, so that's pretty good. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, but some news from some other sports this past week as softball picked up a transfer pitcher, Sage. I have no idea how you say her last name. Marjetko, I think.
I'm gonna have to look it up, brother.
Yeah, she was a freshman last year at South Carolina. She posted 8 wins, a 2.85 ERA, and 119 strikeouts over 118 innings of work. So
Speaking of softball,
okay.
I believe it's Bella Fall's birthday today. So happy birthday, Miss Bella Fall.
Yep, happy birthday, Bella. But yeah, a big pickup in the transfer portal for Tennessee softball as you do lose Peyton Gottschall. She has run out of eligibility. I think that's a fantastic piece to pair with Carlin Pickens going into next year. I think Charlie Orsini is still there. I know Riley White has graduated as well, but a big pickup out of the portal for Vol softball.
I just don't know what to expect out of that room, man, because they were already so good. I mean, how much better could they really be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
I mean, I hate to say that the only way they could go is backwards, but man, they were really good this year. And the only reason why they didn't go all the way really was because the offense fell short.
Yeah, you just couldn't score runs whenever it mattered.
Yeah. So,
then a big pickup out of the portal for Tennessee baseball as Louisville transfer infielder Gavin Killen has committed to Tennessee. He was rated as one of the best players in the portal. He hit .339 this past season with 9 homers and 27 doubles as a sophomore. So
the week you come back from winning a national championship and you land 2 freaking transfer portal recruits.
Oh yeah, I forgot the other one. It was a pitcher from Kennesaw State. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yes.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that just doesn't stop working. That is our boy, Tony Valtella. Making it rain, brother. I mean, he came home with a check. That's probably what he did. Came home with a trophy, said, "Hey, you want one of these? Come over here." Yeah. And so, hey, whatever works, brother.
And I hadn't heard anything for sure yet, but they've been in talks with Jace Laviolette from Texas A&M.
Oh, I'm sure they've been in talks with half those players. I mean, everybody hit the transfer portal. Dude, that whole situation, we've not really talked about that, and that's a whole nother segment for a whole nother day. But I kind of hate it for A&M fans. I mean, that in no way did I feel like any of that was really warranted. And the fact that he attacked the reporter the way he did, I'm talking about the head coach. What's his name?
Jim Schlossnagel.
Yeah. Schlossenbooger, whatever. The way he obviously handled that press conference right after the game, and then not even 16 hours later, obviously pulled the trigger and go join his best friend at Texas, which you knew that was going to happen, which is why the reporter asked it. I don't feel like it was out of line in any way, even though the timing of the question was kind of wrong as far as it being right after the game, but you knew he was going to pull the trigger. Like, that was the only chance that reporter had to ask him a question like that. And for him to say the rant that he went on and then to turn around 16 hours and basically lie about it, right? Just cold-hearted lied about it. And then obviously took the whole staff with him to Texas. Man, and I know that the worst part of it is he never even talked to the players about it. I think that's got to be the worst part. You got players on the team that right after the loss is saying, hey, this team is right where we want them to be. If you want to compete in the World Series, you need to come to A&M. And then you had those same players after the news delete those tweets and then enter the portal because they were lied to. And that's a whole situation. That is crazy, man.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to pull up, I'm not going to read this. I'll let you guys read it for yourself. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely encourage you to go read it. Christian Moore put this out on his Instagram the other day. It tugs on the heartstrings a little bit. Just putting out there what Tennessee has meant to him, what the teammates have meant to him, what Tony Vitello has meant to him. And, I mean, from all of us to Christian Moore here, you have meant so much to us, man. I mean, seeing you grow from where you were as a freshman to being one of the best players in college baseball this year. I mean, if it would have been any other season, Christian Moore wins National Player of the Year. But, I mean, when you got to go up against a guy like Charlie Condon and then Jack Caglione, you got the pitcher from Arkansas, the outfielder from Oregon State. It was just an unbelievable year for a lot of guys. That Christian Moore just kind of got overshadowed at times. But, I mean, this right here really, really says it all about Christian Moore.
Yeah, I was just sitting here rereading it because I've seen this the other day. And, man, a kid from Brooklyn, New York, coming down to Knoxville and finding a new home. And, dude, are we so thankful for it. And it's definitely – feelings are mutual, Simo, bro. Like, it has been a joy to watch you these last 3 years and to see everything come full circle. Obviously, the first freshman year, and they lost to Notre Dame, and then second year they make it all the way there and don't win a single game up there. Or maybe they won one. I think they went 1-2. And then this year they really buckled down, got the job done, full circle moment. I mean, it's just so cool. And then I think his 3 seasons at Tennessee, 2 of them were at the World Series. One's a natty. The other one
should have been a natty. Was
arguably the best baseball team in college baseball. And just they can't really say that because they didn't finish, right? That what a career in Knoxville for Simo, and to see him pay tribute like that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And Huntingdon, Tennessee paid tribute to Hunter Inslee this past week, did a little parade, recognized him. And for those that are in the Lewisburg area and surroundings, I believe it is Tuesday evening this week, they're doing a celebration for Kavaris Tears. So those that want to join in with that, I'm going to try to find the Facebook post that I saw earlier, and I will put it on our Evolve Fanatics Facebook page as well as the Twitter page.
Did you know that he played at CA?
I did. We played against him.
No, I know. He would have been a freshman literally the year after I graduated at Richland. So that was
he was a freshman your junior year, my senior year, because I don't know if you remember, I told the story that I begged the head coach to let me catch in one JV game. It happened to be it happened to be and maybe that was his 8th grade season. But he was playing on the high school team.
I think that was because I don't remember playing him, and we played CA, and I don't remember playing Kavaris Tears. But either way, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was either an 8th grader or a freshman. I'm really thinking he was a freshman. But anyway, I begged Coach to let me catch him one JV game, and it just so happened to be against CA. My brother-in-law happened to be pitching in that game. I called an inside fastball against Kavaris that he turns on and hits probably 450 foot, but luckily it was foul. And as soon as it left the bat, I stood up and I said, well, I'm not calling that pitch again. He just laughed, man. But side note, we ended up striking him out in that bat on a curve.
Hey, there you go. Small victory. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, but no, it's actually pretty interesting. I know we're still alive here, but I think it's fun. I've actually played against 3 guys that are going to be future major or future pro players. 2 of them are already in the pros. Ryan Weathers from Loretta, he's already in the majors. Blake Tidwell, he was on Loretta's team the year or 1 year that I played, and he's in the minors now on a fast track to the majors. And then of course Kavaris Tears.
Yep, and I'm gonna one up you and say that I had a teammate in Giles County, Ben Peoples, who is in the pro ranks right now, and that dude's gas. I mean, he's awesome, and he's a 2-way player. At least he was. He hit bombs and he threw it about 90 miles an hour. And when you're doing that at the age of 15, 16 years old, you're going straight up to the league, and that's exactly what he did. Now he's not in the league. I think he's playing some AA or AAA right now, but no, I mean, yeah. So we're around the talent. Unfortunately, didn't get the juice. But I was around the juice, brother. That's all that matters.
Yes, I actually played against him as well. I had forgotten about Peebles. So,
yep, absolutely.
So, yeah. I do have one more shout out before we close. So in the YouTube description, I've got a link to a video from a YouTube page called Corn in a Jar. They have every single Tennessee home run from this past season clipped in that video. I believe, what was it, 182 home runs, I believe, this past season.
So close to beating the record, man.
Yeah. So, spoiler, the video is a little over an...
But yeah.
Yeah, video is a little over an hour long, but man, once you're hey, look, once you're watching it and you hear a bunch of Tennessee home runs, it doesn't feel that long, but
it takes forever, bro. Oh.
Yeah, but he has all of the home runs in that video. He also has the SEMO cycle linked in there. He's got the third out in the national championship game, along with some of the celebration stuff. Pretty awesome video that I've got linked in the description for YouTube.
All right, Heupel, new challenge. We need so many touchdowns. It takes us over an hour to watch all the touchdowns from this season, bro. That is a new challenge, and it starts August 31st. So, no, that's awesome, man. Well, let's wrap this thing up, man. We appreciate everybody that tuned in live on Facebook, YouTube. We always appreciate you guys commenting on the show. We had a good one tonight, a little bit longer one than I expected. But next week, we will be talking about the tight ends in segment 1. We will be talking about Arkansas in segment 2, and then South Carolina in segment 3. Sorry, I didn't have any of that written down. We just made it up on the fly. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. So be here if you're interested. We're going to talk some football because, dude, like I said, we're 7 Saturdays away, and the next time you listen to us, it'll be 6. And, man, I am excited. It's about time, man.
Yeah, I agree. You know,
SEC Media Days are right around the corner as well.
Yeah, SEC Media Days right around the corner. It's been kind of a long week this past week because I'm not a pro sports fan, so I don't sit here and watch MLB. We do have the Olympics that you can watch coming up. Watch Dalton Knecht, Santi Vescovi, and Josiah Jordan James in the Summer League. So
if you're into that,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right now I'm just watching a whole bunch of replays from this past season right now, just waiting for the season to roll around. But follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Evolve Fanatics Show. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Also check out the College Huddle. Trying to do a plug for it as well. You can look at all of the the schools that are represented by the College Huddle. Woodswater, Mizzou is one of them. You can check out their page on there as well. We have over 70 different schools represented right now with links to all of their stuff. So check it out. The website is in the YouTube description as well. And Skylar, you got anything else before we close out?
Go Big Orange, baby.
Yes, sir. Go Big Orange.
I'm a ball for life, y'all. I bleed orange and white, y'all. I will till I die, y'all. I'm a ball for life, yeah. Raised up on John Ward, giving 6 in the checkerboard till